Hello everyone, my name is Rohan Kirkar and I'm an assistant professor at the Don Bosco College, Panjim. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic that is e-commerce. So let's begin. For today's presentation, we are going to look at the following topics. Commerce, what is e-commerce? Why do we require e-commerce? The process of e-commerce, pros and cons of e-commerce in India, and finally some references. So let's begin. Now let's try to understand what commerce is before going ahead with e-commerce. Now when I talk about commerce, it's basically exchange of goods and services from the producer to the final consumer. In olden days, we had something called as a barter system, wherein goods and services were exchanged for goods and services. For example, if you look at the picture on top, to the right corner, you see one lady handing over some bananas or fruits to a guy holding some books. So this was nothing but barter system. In modern terms, we have a monetary concept wherein commerce takes place by exchange of goods and services for money, or I can say monetary transactions. Now, once we get the concept of commerce clear, let's move on to e-commerce. So, what's e commerce? E commerce is also known as electronic marketing. It is similar to commerce, but the transaction, that is, buying and selling of goods and services, takes place over an electronic system, such as internet and any other computer network. So, e commerce is basically purchasing, selling, and exchanging of goods and services over computer network, which can be done through your laptop, your home PC, or even your mobile phone. All the transactions are performed electronically. Why do we require e-commerce? First, low entry cost. When I talk about low entry cost, what do you mean by low entry cost? Say suppose I want to open a store. Now what do I do? I want to open a general store, for example. So I need to purchase a store, maybe rent out a store, do some interior work, maybe set up some racks and other things, maybe buy a software or purchase a software for billing and all such things. Now this requires a lot of money, whereas in terms of e-commerce you can simply start your business from anywhere. It can be your home or any existing office. So you don't need to pay the extra cost for, say, suppose renting out a store, purchasing a store, or doing any modifications to the store. Second is reduced transaction cost. Transaction costs are nothing but the day-to-day expenses that a business incurs. Say for example, the electricity that you use, or the water that you use, okay, or the bills that you need to pay, the taxes, okay, the salary that you need to pay for the employees. All this comes under transaction cost. Now this cost is basically eliminated or reduced in terms of e-commerce, because as we said, we can start a business or an e-commerce business anyway, even from your living room of your house. So the extra burden of paying to the employee, or for paying the electricity bill or water bill, is basically eliminated. The next, access to global market. Definitely, when I talk about e-commerce, you set up your business online and this online business is now available for anyone in the world. If I take a normal business wherein I set up a store in a particular location, say for example, Panjim. So my business will be only available to people in and around Panjim. Whereas if I set up a business online, this particular business or my products will be available globally for anyone to purchase. The last one, secure market share. Say for example, if I talk about opening a business in a particular location, my business is doing well, and looking at that there will be other competitors who are going to open the same business in and around the same locality or the area. Now this creates competition. Whereas in terms of e-commerce, we know that hundreds and thousands of sellers selling the same product. But since you have access to the global market, your market share is always there. There is no risk that your business is going to fail easily. Now let's have a look at the process of e-commerce. How does e-commerce basically takes place? There are certain fixed steps that you need to perform in order to purchase online. Now, for example, if I want to buy a cell phone, a new cell phone, so what do I do? I have two options. Either I can go to a store, look at the available phones, and select one. This has a small disadvantage. I can only select from the available products. Whereas if I purchase the cell phone online, I have a lot of advantages. Advantage in terms of the range of product available. Now let's have a look at the process. As I said, I want to buy a cell phone. So what do I do? So if I want to purchase a cell phone, all I have to do is I need to go to one of the e-commerce website. For example, amazon.in. In the search bar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the brand name of the phone which I want to purchase. Say for example, Samsung. Now, in addition to the brand name, I can add a variety of filters like say cost, maybe the size of memory, the display type, the display size, and so on and so forth. So when I search for this particular product with different filters, the system is going to generate a list with all the filters and it's going to display the products to me. Now I can simply browse to the list, check for the phone which I need or which I like and then add it to the cart. A cart in terms of e-commerce is a digital cart. It's just a list that is created for the products that you purchase online. Once your product is added to the cart, the next thing is you need to enter the delivery address and the billing address. Once you enter these particular details, the next thing what the system does is it will generate a bill. So basically this bill contains the cost of the product, maybe shipping charges, maybe any tax applicable. Once you agree to the cost, the next thing what the system does it will securely redirect you to the payment gateway. Now, in this case, you need to enter your bank details or any other details, including OTP, in order for the transaction to get successful. Once your payment is successful, then you are redirected back to your page or the product review or overview page. Now, once the payment is done, your product is basically ordered. The next part is for the vendor or the seller to take care of. Since the product is already placed, the payment is already done, the vendor is going to perform the task of packaging and shipping the product. All the customer has to do is wait for the product to be delivered to a doorstep. And this is the simple process of e-commerce. It's a very simple process where anyone can shop for any product depending on their liking. It gives a lot of advantage to the user in terms of the product availability, the customization that you can do, and lot many things. So this is a very simple process of e-commerce. The following slides basically explain you what I have already explained. Now, let's have a look at the different types of e-commerce. The first one is business to business. The second one is business to consumer. The third one is consumer to consumer. The fourth one is consumer to business. Now let's have a look at each of this in detail. The first business model is business to business. Now, this particular business model is the largest form of e-commerce. Now, what basically happens in this kind of e-commerce is one business entity or organization sells its product to another business organization or an entity. For example, if I take Maruti Suzuki cars, Maruti Suzuki basically assembles car by purchasing different products from various vendors. For example, say tires. Maruti Suzuki may purchase tires from say MRF, TVS or any other vendor. So when a transaction takes place or an online transaction takes place between businesses wherein buying and selling of products takes place, it is known as business to business. The next, business to consumer. This is the most common type of e-commerce that takes place. When a vendor or a manufacturer sells its product directly to the consumer or the customer, it is known as business to consumer. For example, I can purchase a phone, say a Nokia phone or a Samsung phone directly from the Samsung or the Nokia website. Now, in this case, the business, that is the Nokia phones or the Samsung cellulars, are selling the products directly to the consumer without the need of a third party or a middleman. This is nothing but business to consumer. The next one, consumer to consumer. In recent times, this has been one of the emerging e commerce applications wherein one consumer basically sells products to another consumer. Now, we all must have heard of OLX, right? There's a tagline which says page day. Now, what really are they saying? Who is selling to whom? In this case, a customer is basically selling any used products or maybe a new product to another consumer. See, for example, I have a sofa which I have used for say 5 years, and now I need to purchase a new sofa, or basically I want to purchase a new sofa. So, what do I do with the old one? I can simply list sofa on sites like OLS where other consumers can simply look at the list or at the sofa and purchase it. You have to be very clear about this concept. Why? The consumer selling the product, that is the sofa, did not manufacture the sofa. He or she purchased the sofa from a vendor, used that sofa for n number of years, and now since he or she is purchasing a new sofa, he or she is basically selling it or selling the second hand sofa to a different consumer. And this is nothing but consumer to consumer, wherein one consumer sells products to another consumer and none of the consumers are the manufacturers of the product. The last one, consumer to business. This is a reversal of business to consumer model. Over here, the end consumers get the opportunity to sell their products or services to the company. For example, say logo designing or freelancing photography and such things. Here, the consumer basically provides the services or the goods to the business. So, these are the four types of e commerce. Let's move on. Next, we are going to look at the pros of e-commerce or what are the advantages of e-commerce. First is comfort. Yes, definitely. When I talk about e-commerce, I don't need to go anywhere to purchase any products. Say suppose if I want to buy grocery, all I need to do is maybe log in into Amazon, go to the Amazon pantry and order the products. So it's comfortable. So it provides comfort. Second is convenience. E-commerce websites are available 24 hours a day, whereas in terms of a normal business, the business timings are fixed. See, for example, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. If I want to purchase any product before 6 a.m. and after 11 p.m., the shop is closed. I cannot purchase the product. Whereas in terms of e-commerce, the websites are always running, the businesses are always running, and you can purchase a product at any point in time. Next is flexible. E-commerce businesses are flexible for both the consumers as well as the business. There are a lot of schemes which are available, like say EMI. You can purchase a product on EMI. You can purchase the product whenever you want. Cost effective. E-commerce business is a very cost effective business. Now, why do we say that? Because a lot of transaction costs are reduced or eliminated in terms of e-commerce. Now, this proves to be advantageous for both the seller as well as the consumer or the buyer. A product sold online is on a discounted rate or on a lesser rate than the same product sold in normal business environment. The last is security. All the transactions that takes place on e-commerce websites are secure. Example, the payment gateways. Now, let's look at the disadvantages or cons of e-commerce. The first is intangibility. Now, what is intangibility? The product that you purchase is only seen in terms of pictures. You cannot touch the product, you cannot see how it is, and that's why it is called as intangible. You can only see the product, you can only use the product once it is delivered to your doorstep. Second, massive competition. Yes, we know that e-commerce provides a global market, and definitely there is going to be a massive competition in the market. Next, technical issues. Many times we do face technical issues. Maybe the website is down, or the internet connectivity is low, or the server providing the service is down. Next, 24 by 7 internet access. If you need to access any e-commerce website, you basically require to have internet connectivity. Then it requires patience. Yes. From the time you order the product till the time the product is delivered to you, you need to have patience. You just cannot use the product the moment you order and purchase it. Lastly, lack of trust. Not all sellers online or doing e-commerce business are trustworthy. There are people who are going to sell you low quality product for a lesser rate. So there is an issue of lack of trust. So those were the cons of e-commerce. Now let's move on to see how e-commerce is flourishing in India. The Indian e-commerce market is expected to grow 111.40 billion by 2025. In the year 2020, it was $46.2 billion. By 2030, it is expected to reach $350 billion. So you can see the leap or the exponential growth that Indian e-commerce market is going through. In the year 2021, the total e-commerce sales were expected to reach 67 to 84 billion dollars from 52.57 billion dollars in 2020. India stands third in the largest online shopper base of 140 million in 2020 after China and the US. So definitely there's a huge scope for e-commerce business in India. Lastly, these are some of the references from where the data has been collected. I hope I managed to give you some vital information, and thank you for listening.